step into dark minds uncovered where the shadows of the psyche come alive. But what drives a human being to kill and then consume another? Sit back as we step into minds where desire and destruction collide, and cannibalism becomes the darkest form of control. It's a topic that shocks, disgusts, and fascinates. Why would anyone commit murder and then take the horrifying step of consuming human flesh? This isn't about survival, like a stranded explorer in the wilderness. This is about power, control, and the darkest depths of the human mind.
With over 20 years in human services and crisis intervention, 2 degrees in behavioral science, and certification in emotional intelligence and leadership, I break down the psychological, sociological, and investigative angles of what happens when killers cross the line from murder to consumption. At its core, cannibalism is about domination. For certain killers, taking a life isn't enough. They need to go further, to erase every trace of their victim. Eating someone represents the ultimate act of possession. The victim doesn't just die, they are absorbed, consumed, and made part of the killer forever. Psychologists describe this as a twisted form of ownership. By consuming flesh, the killer convinces themselves the victim can never leave them. Their power, their essence, even their life force, is swallowed whole. But it's not always just about control. For many cannibalistic killers, the act is fused with sexual fantasy. Jeffrey Dahmer admitted that eating body parts made him feel closer to his victims, that it was part of a ritual meant to keep them with him forever. For him, cannibalism blurred the line between lust and destruction. This connection between sex and violence, known as sexual sadism, is a hallmark of some of the most notorious cases. Consuming flesh becomes the final step in a fantasy that began long before the first victim ever died. Another layer is what psychologists call magical thinking. Some killers believe that by eating their victims, they take on their qualities. Strength, beauty, innocence, even their soul. Albert Fish, one of the most infamous cannibals in American history, believed he was absorbing the essence of the children he murdered. This isn't rational. It's symbolic possession, a ritual act where the killer convinces themselves that part of their victim now lives inside them. For them, cannibalism isn't about hunger, it's about merging identities. In rarer cases, cannibalism is driven by psychosis. These offenders aren't fueled by lust or power, but by voices, hallucinations, or delusions. Some believe God or the devil commanded them. Others think eating flesh will protect them from harm or grant immortality. In these cases, the killer's grip on reality is gone. Cannibalism becomes part of a paranoid, delusional world where the act makes sense only inside their fractured mind. There's also ritual. Some killers elevate cannibalism into a ceremony, a twisted form of worship or meaning-making. Take Armin Meiwes, the cannibal of Rothenburg, who killed and ate a consenting victim in Germany. For him, it was about intimacy, ritual, and fulfillment of a long-standing fantasy. Cannibalism in these cases is more than a crime, it's a symbolic act. A way of making the murder sacred, significant, unforgettable. Perhaps the most chilling element is dehumanization. Cannibalistic killers don't see their victims as people. They strip them of their identities and reduce them to objects, meat to be consumed. This process allows the killer to silence guilt, empathy, or any recognition of the victim's humanity. Eating flesh becomes the final insult, the final way to erase a life and reduce it to nothing. History is littered with real examples. Jeffrey Dahmer, who killed 17 men and boys, admitted to cooking and eating body parts so he could feel they were part of him forever. Albert Fish, who murdered children and described his acts in letters that still horrify today, claiming he was compelled by voices. Armin Meiwes, whose case blurred the lines of murder, consent, and ritual when he ate a man who willingly agreed to be killed. These cases horrify not just because of the acts themselves, but because they show the extremes of human psychology, how desire, delusion, and domination can twist into something unrecognizable. So, why do some serial killers eat people? The answer lies at the intersection of control, fantasy, ritual, and illness. It's about erasing boundaries, consuming identity, and playing God in the most horrific way possible. cannibalism among serial killers is not about survival. It's about the darkest desires of the human mind, and the chilling lengths some will go to satisfy them. This has been Dark Minds Uncovered. And remember, the most terrifying monsters aren't hiding under your bed, they walk among us.